let us start histology of urinary organs. So just we can understand this whole histology basics by this diagram. So we have mainly right and left kidneys, right, and kidney is attached to the ureter from which the urine passes, right, and this urine now enters into the urinary bladder over here, which will be like so urinary bladder will be like this over here, and next we are also having urethra. So the production, secretion, storage and passing of urine all takes by this urinary system. So if the urine is present in the glucose, then it is known as diabetes mellitus, and if the proteins are present in the urine, then it may lead to kidney disease. So you can check out here, this is like a shape of a bean and convex mainly at the margins, convex at the margins, and it is concave in the medial side. So medially it is concave, and hilum leads to the renal sinus. So this is the hilum from which the renal sinus, and renal sinus leads to the pelvis, right? This is the pelvis. So the pelvis is containing mainly major calyces. So you can see this is the pelvis. So here the major calyces are formed, right? So this major calyces further divide into the minor calyces. So this small you can see these are the minor calyces which are having the cap like structure at the ends, right? So these are the minor calyces and the cup like shape at the ends. So the projection of papilla actually fit into this cup like shape. So outer cortex and inner medulla, as every organ, this also has outer cortex. This pinkish color is outer cortex. These are the pyramidal structures. You can see these are actually present in the medulla. So these pyramids are present in medulla, and this pinkish is the outer cortex. Even between the pyramids you can see some pinkish. This is all about cortex, and inside we are having the medulla. So inner medulla is presenting a triangular area where the renal pyramids are present, right? These are the triangular renal pyramids which mainly fit into the minor calyx. Yes, they are fitting into the minor calyx. You can see that is in the cup shape. So next, apex or papilla also is present towards the pelvis and fits into the minor calyx. And next, coming to the radial striations are present towards the apex in the pyramids. So these are like radial striations moving towards the apex in the pyramid. And the cortex between the face of pyramids and surface of kidney having the cortical arches are also known as cortical lobules. So cortex which is between these pyramids is known as cortical arches, also known as cortical lobules. So the light and dark striations are medullary rays which are mainly present in the cortex. So here some light striations like structures, those are the medullary rays which are present in the cortex mainly. And the renal column is present between the pyramids. So pyramids, renal columns in between them. So this is all about some of the important points related to kidney and where we are. So cortex is between pyramids and surface of kidney cortical arches, and light and dark striations medullary rays are present in the cortex. Renal column is present between pyramids, and the pyramid is mainly covered by a shell of cortex, outer cortex. So the capsule is also mainly covered by the cortex itself. So it forms a lobe of a kidney, and it is mainly seen obviously more prominent in the fetal kidney. So fibrous capsule covers it and easily striped in a healthy individual. So whenever we take a specimen of a kidney, and if we are easily able to take out the capsule, then it is healthy kidney. If we are not able to take out, then it is something disease is going on in the kidney. So what are uriniferous tubules actually? Uriniferous tubules are nothing but they are divided into nephron and collecting tubule. Their main function is to excretion of urine. So this one you can see this is a kidney in a diagram of histological diagram. So first one is a capsule over here. So this is a capsule, and second one is a renal corpuscle. These are renal corpuscles. Third one is a proximal convoluted tubule, PCT, and our fourth one is DCD, distal convoluted tubule, and fifth one is an artery, and sixth one is a vein because larger lumen, and seventh one is a medullary ray. If you remember, medullary ray is projecting towards a cortex, and eighth is a collecting duct. So this is a collecting duct. So this is a histological diagram of a kidney. So you can see the uriniferous tubules are divided into our nephron and also collecting tubule. So this is all together known as nephron. Nephron is a structural and functional unit of a kidney, we all know. So there are about 2 million nephrons in each kidney. So together we can say 4 million nephrons in our both kidneys. So many million nephrons. So once let us check out, as we understood the diagram, now let us check out the theory part so that it will be convenient to study here in this picture. So 2 million nephrons in each kidney. So parts of the nephron are divided into renal corpuscle or also known as Malpighian corpuscle. So this renal corpuscle mainly consists of a glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. We know the Bowman's capsule is double layered cup-like structure. Between two layers of this Bowman's capsule we are having a urinary space which is continuous with the lumen of the renal tubule. So let us check out over here. So the glomerulus, this is a Bowman's capsule. So both together form the renal corpuscle or the Malpighian corpuscle. So this is part of a nephron. So second part of a nephron comes like renal tubule. So renal tubule is further divided into proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, which is again further divided into ascending part and descending part, and next one is a distal convoluted tubule which ends mainly in the collecting tubule. So all this together form a nephron. So each nephron has renal corpuscle, that is glomerulus with a Bowman's capsule, and they also have renal tubule. In that renal tubule it is further divided into PCT, that is proximal convoluted tubule, and this is a straight segment, and descending limb and loop of Henle. So this is a descending limb and this is a loop of Henle, and this is a thick segment and thin segment of ascending limb. So actually ascending limb is divided again into thin and thick, because according to size only you can see this is like a thin tube, this is like a thick tube, and this is the DCT, distal convoluted tubule. This is a junctional tubule which is mainly between distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct. So finally we have a collecting duct. So up to here cortex. Now you can only understand what structures are present in the cortex. So in the cortex mainly we are having our glomerulus, that is our renal corpuscle is in the cortex, the PCT is in the cortex, and also DCT is in the cortex. So what are the structures in the medulla? We have the loop of Henle, thick and thin segments. So also all parts of loop of Henle and the collecting duct are in the medulla. Also remember that collecting duct half part is also in the cortex. So by this diagram we can easily check out those. So now let us see the theory. So the collecting tubule mainly drains different nephrons and joins and forms a papillary duct of Bellini. This is important. The collecting tubules together form a papillary duct of Bellini which opens into the minor calyx at the apex of papillae. So we have seen the minor calyx. So if you remember, there they drain. So the renal corpuscle, the PCT, DCT lie in the cortex. Yeah, just now we have seen that the loop of Henle, collecting duct mainly lie in the medullary rays and also in the pyramids. So by this we complete that. Now let us see the renal corpuscle somewhat in detail, that is our glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. So actually the blood first enters by the efferent arteriole, yeah everyone know, and leave by the efferent arteriole. So actually we know blood when it enters by artery then it should end by vein, but here it is different because to maintain the high pressure so that the blood can easily filter. So this is a different, that is efferent arteriole, leave by efferent arteriole, and again enter into capillaries which lie in the vascular pole. So what is vascular pole and urinary pole? Let us see. Vascular, as a name only you can understand, vascular means where the efferent and efferent arterioles are coming. This is a vascular pole, and this is a urinary pole from which our PCT arises. So this is urinary pole, this is vascular pole. This is urinary pole because from this only the urine starts filtering. So vascular pole is mainly for this efferent and efferent arteries of the renal corpuscle. So the glomerulus is having outer layer and again inner layer. The outer layer is made up of squamous cells according to histology, right? And the inner layer is made up of podocytes. Podocytes are like foot-like processes. We will see all those things. And urinary space is continuation to the lumen of the renal tubule. So urinary space is nothing but you can see this is the outer layer and inner layer. So between these two layers we are having this greenish that is continuing with the PCT, you can see downwards. So that was they are saying. And at the urinary pole opposite to the vascular pole, right? So the urinary space will continue at the urinary pole which is mainly opposite to our vascular pole. Now let us see the renal tubule. So renal tubule is nothing but having PCD, DCT and loop of Henle. So DCT, that is distal convoluted tubule, mainly end by opening into the collecting tubule. Yeah, we have seen. So the junction between PCT and glomerulus capsule is called neck. So in this diagram you can see this is the neck, that is between glomerulus and the PCT, that is the neck. And the PCT is having initial part in the cortex and the straight terminal part in the medulla. Yeah, we have seen. And even the DCT next the loop of Henle, Yeah, this continues. And the descending and ascending limb of loop of Henle are narrow and thin, then they are called as thin segment. And the upper part of ascending limb, that is having large cilia, are thick walled, that is thick, yeah, they are like thick wall and having thick segment. And next coming to the DCT. The DCT mainly continues with the ascending limb of loop of Henle, and the convolute part is present in the cortex, which is the junction between the two parts, that is distal tubule is close to renal corpuscle of nephron, and terminal part of DCT is straight and called as junctional tubule or connecting tubule, and end by the collecting duct. So they are saying about this junctional tubule, that is mainly between the DCT and also our collecting duct. So this is a thick segment and this is a thin segment of ascending loop of Henle, and this is the descending limb of loop of Henle. So next we see there is short zigzag tubule or irregular tubule, that is between our DCT and junctional tubule. So between DCT and junctional tubule there is one more zigzag tubule, that is nothing but the glomerular capsule may be the part of where we are. These are between DCT and junctional tubule, and the glomerular capsule may be part of the renal tubule. So that's it. There is one zigzag tube. Yeah, some zigzag structure between the DCT and the junctional tubule. Yeah, right. And next let us see the renal tubule epithelium. So the neck is mainly covered by a simple squamous which is continuous with the glomerular capsule. So I can see the neck over here, which is lined by the simple squamous, and the PCT is lined by the cuboidal or columnar, and it is having small lumen, and breast border can be seen having the central nuclei, which is mainly euchromatic. Next coming to the DCT, that is distal convoluted tubule, which is mainly having large lumen, cuboidal cells, no breast border here. Let's stay with the eosine. Next coming to the smallest collecting tubules, that is simple columnar and simple cuboidal in the collecting tubule, and normal, that is they are saying about smallest, but in the case of normal collecting tubules they are having large lumen and no breast border in the case of collecting tubules. Next coming to the blood supply. So you can check out here different types of arteries. Instead, if you see this, you'll think what is this. In a simple way, we can check out here. So the blood supply is mainly starting at the hilum. First the artery enters into lobar arteries and interlobar arteries, next into arcuate arteries, next into interlobular arteries, which end in a subcapsular plexus mainly, and next continue as efferent arterioles, glomerular capillaries, efferent arterioles, again into capillaries, interlobular veins and arcuate veins and interlobal veins. So don't worry, it's just a histology, so just I am discussing it a bit faster, but in physiology and in physiology we can discuss this blood supply in detail. And here you can see even in anatomy in detail we can see this is a part of anatomy histology, so it's not that much. So coming to efferent arterioles, they're arising from the glomeruli and near to the medulla, then they are known as juxtamedullary. There are 12 to 25 vessels in that place. So next this having a descending vasa recta, this gives the descending vasa recta branch, which gives side branches forming a capillary plexus and forming ascending vasa recta, which is again reaching the cortex and draining mainly into this interlobular veins and the arcuate veins. So this is a small kind of flow chart. If you can remember this, it would be very helpful to to remember all the blood supply of our kidney. Next, glomeruli mainly lie in a zone adjacent to the arteries, and also other parts of nephron mainly lie near to the lobule. So near to arteries always glomerulus, we know because from there only filtration start, and nephron is mainly nearer to the center of lobule. And from the blood, the glomerular capillaries enter into urinary space, from there into capillary endothelium, fenestratia, many pores, so that only they are getting filtering. And podocytes are food process, they are also like providing so much gap between the cells, so that there is lot of exchange going on. And the visceral layers of glomerulus next enter into glomerular basement membrane between the two layers of the cells. So these capillary ends are having many pores, and this food process are mainly having primary process, which is star shape, and the secondary process form pedicles. Pedicles are mainly present on the basal lamina, and they're having filtration slits or slit pores are present, and the glomerular filled diaphragm is also present. Thereby you can understand all this increase the surface area is increased, the exchange capacity is increased, filtration capacity is increased. So thereby there is because all these are capable only because of more amount of podocytes and also having negative charge in the membrane. So next let us talk about basement membrane. So the basement membrane is very thick. It is having outer lamina rara externa, central lamina densa mainly made up of type 4 collagen, and inner lamina rara interna. So rara interna is mainly made up of glycose, aminoglycans with heparan sulfate, and it is also negatively charged. So if there is any dysfunction in the basement membrane, it may lead to nephrotic syndrome leading to proteinuria, that is loss of protein in the urine. So this nephrotic, nephritic syndromes, all this we'll see in detail in pathology. And the gap is filled mainly by the mesangium. So now let us see about details of mesangium. So it's better to continue with our content first. If we complete this perfectly, next once let us check out all the histological diagrams at last. So the mesangium is glomerular capillaries along supported with the mesangium mainly. So mesentery like fold over the capillary loop is the mesangium. It is mainly between the glomerular segments. They have angiotensin 2 receptors which are mainly stimulated, then they stimulate the angiotensin and then the fibrils contract. So it also useful for the control of blood flow, phagocytosis, maintain the basement membrane, prominent in the glomerulonephritis mainly in the disease. So PCT have microvilli, their role is mainly for reabsorption. Loop of Henle also known as ansa nephroni, they are having short microvilli and their role is hypertonic environment and reabsorption of more amount of water. So loops of nephron deep in the medulla are nothing but the juxtamedullary glomeruli, and the collecting tubules proximal part have clear cells with less microvilli, and the lining epithelium is mainly by dark cells or intercalated cells, and microvilli are present. There are no basal enfoldings but large amount of mitochondria. And the DCT role is mainly for selective reabsorption. Here the aldosterone and the ADH are involved. And in the collecting tubule, the role is mainly to final concentration of the urine. ADH is involved, of course, in case of concentrating the urine. So absence of ADH may lead to dilute urine, that is diabetes insipidus. So that there will be continuously dilute urine really passing by the patient. So JG is nothing but juxtaglomerular apparatus. So the DCT near to the vascular port between efferent and efferent arteries. The wall of efferent medials is modified. Efferent artery is modified, and the JG cells are present over there. So they mainly act on. They are innervated by adrenergic nerve fibers, and these JG cells are modified myoepithelial cells which are having mainly contractile filaments, and DCT wall is modified and having columnar cells, that is macula densa is present. So the macula densa along with the JGA also have the lacy cells which are unknown function. They are also like they are between the macula densa and the efferent and different arterioles. So close to the JG cells there is a JGA complex, which mainly JG cells, they mainly produce renin and they act on angiotensinogen, which converts into angiotensin 1, and the lungs they convert into 2, and which increase the blood pressure. So the aldosterone mainly useful for increase of sodium reabsorption by the DCT and water by the collecting that, so that urine can be controlled. So coming to the interstitial space, the interstitial space of a kidney mainly occupied by blood vessels, lymphatics, and in the medulla we are having matrix, proteins, glycosaminoglycans, and collagen fibers, interstitial cells like which produce prostaglandins by epithelium of collecting duct. Let us see about urethra. So urethra, very small points, like in male it is more big. We are at the urethra, right? So urethra in the male is greater than female. So wall of urethra acts mucus, submucosa, muscularis layer, and it is mainly lined by pseudostratified columnar epithelium around the bladder, but around the bladder it is lined by transitional epithelium, and at the external orifice it is lined by stratified squamous epithelium, and it is having inner longitudinal and outer circular smooth muscle layer, and it is mainly surrounded by the external urethral sphincter. Now let us study in detail of ureter. So ureter is having outer fibrous coat, middle smooth muscle layer, and inner muscular lining. So inner muscular lining is mainly made up of transitional epithelium, which is 4 to 5 cell thick, and no basal lamina lie on the elastic fibers mainly. And the mucosa is having connective tissue along with the epithelium with the long folds. Lumen is star shaped, And in the transverse section, we can find out the folds which disappear when the ureter is distended, and the muscle coat is having inner longitudinal outer circular layer. There is third layer outside the circular layer, that is the middle and lower parts of a ureter, and the musculature of ureter is mainly meshwork which is having branching and anastomosing bundles of the muscle fibers, and the outer fibrous coat is mainly loose connective tissue having more amount of blood vessels, nerves, lymphatics, fat cells are only few. Reflux from the bladder to the ureter is prevented by the oblique path and followed by the terminal part of the ureter by the bladder wall. So when the musculature contracts, this part is compressed, that is acting as a physiological sphincter. Now let us check out the urinary bladder. So the urinary bladder, the wall outer layer is made up of serous layer, that is a thick coat of smooth muscle along with the mucous membrane lined by the transitional epithelium which is resting on the fibrous tissue. So this transitional epithelium withstands smooth muscle and also toxic substances. So remember that the urinary bladder doesn't have any muscularis mucosa layer. So whenever the urinary bladder is distended, that is the lining epithelium is changing the shape and shifting over one another, and when it is empty, that is the rugae are present, that is distended, then the rugae are not present, and the mucous glands are present in the internal urethral ossifice, that is a muscle layer here is thick and the smooth muscle meshwork is present. So internal and external fibers are longitudinal between thicker, oblique and circular fibers are present. Sphincter vesicle is present at the junction of bladder and the urethra. So this sphincter vesicle is mainly made up of circular fibers. So the contraction of the urethra, then empty bladder, then it is detrusor of muscle. So this is all about the content of our urinary system histology. Now let us check out the diagrams in detail. So here we can check out, this is a renal cortex. So renal cortex, we know we have a inner kidney, outer cortex, in the medulla, right? So if we see the renal cortex in a high power view, the first one you can see this is a glomerulus capillaris, and the second one you can see this is a glomerular capsule, that is the Bowman's capsule, and the third one we can see that is a urinary space. As you remember, urinary space is between the two layers, that is the outer layer and the inner layer. This urinary space next continues with the PCT. There is, so fourth one is a proximal convoluted tubule, fifth one is the distal convoluted tubule, and sixth one is a macula densa. So macula densa are the cells around the afferent arteriole mainly, right, if you remember. So this is the macula densa. So now let us see the histological image of cortex only, but in a high magnification photomicrograph. So we can check out all the structures which are similar to that. That is, the first one is a glomerulus, it is the glomerular capsule, third one is urinary space, and fourth one is proximal convoluted tubule, fifth one is the distal convoluted tubule, and the sixth one, actually it's fifth one is both are distal convoluted tubules, and macula densa is not seen over here. We can see the macula densa here. So this is for the, but now let us see the renal medulla in detail. So in the medulla, the 1 and 2 are the collecting ducts. As we know, in the medulla we are mainly having collecting ducts. So 1 and 2 are collecting ducts, 3 and 5 are our loop of Henle, thick and thin segments. So 3 and 5 loop of Henle, and fourth one is the capillaries which are present, blood capillaries. So this is a scheme to show the arrangement of arteries within the kidneys. So you can see the arteries, how they are. Actually the artery system start from the hilum and the end outer part. So at the medulla you can see this is the interlobar artery. This interlobar artery is further divided into arcuate artery and the interlobular artery. This interlobular artery are giving efferent arterioles to the glomerulus in the cortex. Now here you can see show the behavior of efferent arterioles of glomeruli in the superficial and deeper parts of the renal cortex. So this is the cortex, medulla. So let us see here. So this is a capillary plexus around the convoluted tubules. These are the efferent arterioles, superficial glomerulus, deep glomerulus, descending vasa recta, and this is the ascending vasa recta, capillary plexus around the loop of Henle and around collecting ducts. This is the arcuate vein, this is the interlobular vein. So once this is discuss all the diagrams in our textbook. So this is a basic structure of renal corpuscle. As you know, renal corpuscle mainly contains glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. So this is the efferent arteriole, this is the efferent arteriole, this is the capillary network, this is the urinary space, visceral layer and the parietal layer of the glomerula, and this is the proximal convoluted tubule. So this is the urinary space continuing with the PCT. So here you can check out the concept of cortical lobules. So cortical lobules, medullary rays, glomerulus, cortex, distal convoluted tubule, interlobular artery, proximal convoluted tubule, and this is the efferent arteriole. In the medulla, we are having the arcuate artery, loop of Henle, collecting duct, and the pyramids. So here you can see the relationship of podocytes to the glomerular capillary. Note that the entire surface of capillary is covered by the process of podocytes, so foot-like process. So the bare areas being shown, for the clarity. So these are podocytes, right? It's capillary. And the scheme to show the filtration slits, how the filtration slits are arranged. You can see this is a mesangial cell, this is a podocyte, primary process, and a pedicel. So the mainly by the pedicel it is attached to the basal lamina, and in the basal lamina you can see many pores because the endothelial cells are arranged in a such a way that they form many gaps, that is forming the slit diaphragm, so that easily filtration is available. So you can see here the glomerular capillary to the podocytes, basement membrane, and the mesangium. So this is the capillary lumen, this is the nucleus of an endothelial cells, this is a mesangial matrix, this is a mesangial cells, glomerular basement membrane, podocytes in the cytoplasm and the nucleus, fenestration, endothelial lining. So by this they'll enter inside, that split, and the filtration takes place. So finally we are having some ultrastructure lining of proximal convoluted tubule. So if we take each cell of a proximal convoluted tubule cell, then it looks like this. So regularly arranged microvilli forming brush border, mitochondria are present, many mitochondria. There are also lateral infoldings and the basal infoldings of the plasma membrane. But you can see here in the DCT, the microvilli are very few, mitochondria are more abundant than PCT, and the lateral infoldings are present in case of both cases, and the basal infoldings of the plasma membrane are more here. So next we are seeing the ureter here. So ureter outer mucosa lined by the transitional epithelium, and second one is a connective tissue, third one is a lumen which is star shaped, and 4 and 5 are the muscle coat, like as we said, inner longitudinal and outer is circular layer, and sixth one is a connective tissue outside, that is inner, we have inner connective tissue, outside also connective tissue, and seventh one is a blood capillaries which are surrounding around the ureter. So now let us see the urinary bladder histological diagram. So urinary bladder outer we have transitional epithelium, and second we have the connective tissue, 3, 4, 5 all are muscle layers, you can see the muscle layers, and sixth one is a serous, outermost serous layer. So that's it all about our histology of urinary system.